All right, so everyone, we are going to start. And for this afternoon, we are going to talk about language and ideologies. So this topic is actually interesting for you because in the beginning, you may study research on linguistic with this language and ideology. So actually, this language and ideology is divided into two kind of types. There is quantitative types and qualitative types. Is that clear? Can you watch my slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So actually, this title is consisted two variables. The first variable is about the language itself, and the second variable is about the ideologies. So when we talk about the language, it means that in every notions, in every community, in every society, they possess something like language. In every district, in every province, they have their own language, right? Something like the notions. So American, they have their own language. Australian, they have their own language, right? Even British, they have their own language, as well as in Indonesian context. Okay, in every province, something like West Java or East Java or Central Java, we have the same Japanese, but actually it is different Japanese. That is the ideology. So when we speak or when we communicate, actually we bring our ideology with the words. Okay, so while, for example, if you are Muslim peoples or if you are Japanese peoples, while you speak to someone else using Japanese language, you actually influenced by your ideology, right? Your ideology is what? Your ideology is the culture of Japanese. Okay, something like orang Solo. When orang Solo speaks to somebody else, all right, to orang Jawa Timur, so orang Solo have its their ideology, right, different from orang Jawa Timur. So East Java peoples, they will speak differently from West Java, all right, orang Sunda, all right. Otherwise, orang Tegal juga they will speak differently from orang Semarang, all right. So when I give you the examples, something like foreign language in African language with Nigeria language, for example, actually they have the same language, but actually the language is different. Something like, African English and Nigerian English, something like American English and Canadian English, all right? Something like American English and British English or Australian English. So the same is they speak English, but they speak English differently. That is the ideologies, right? Language and ideologies. But then today we are not talking about that kind of the ideology in that kind of perspective, but the perspective is about doing research, all right? Doing research. So we try to have this ideology in the frame of our research. All right. So how to do the research using this language and ideology later on. All right. So what is the definition of the language and ideology? There are some theories from Silverstein and from Bloom-Marx. All right. So they are actually talking about what is language and ideology from the different perspective, the perspective of historical context, the perspective of materialism, the perspective of variable reproducibility. All right. So it is a different perspective between Bloomberg and Silverstein. Silverstein's belief that a language and ideology is something like linguistic behaviors that affect speakers' choice and interpretations of communication of communicative interactions. It is true because while you speak English in international symposium or international seminar, of course, the foreigner will be able to detect you that you are Asian people from the way you speak, from your English you produce, from the gesture you have, okay, then from the interpretations, from the speaker's behaviors, it can be detected that you are Asian people, for example, like that. Okay. Then, what is the conceptual underfoundation in doing research using this language and ideology? There are four foundation. The first foundation is neutral. What is meant by neutral here is And then the researchers do the investigations of all system of cultural representations described in an objective manner. It means that something neutral, all right, something neutral. What is meant by neutral here is it is not influenced by some other, some other, what I call this is something like, the one who want to take a part in this research. For example, if you want to do this research, right, by neutral foundation, it means that if you do analyzing or observing the the Asians people, while the Asian people do speaking English, for example. So you need to observe, all right. You need to observe the Japanese people speak English, comparing to Batanese people speak English, comparing to speak Sudanese people speak English. All right. In doing this, you have to be neutral. It means that if you are Japanese people, so you need to come to Jawa Barat, for example, to West Java, for example, then you take a part in that settings and in that sample and population. So you just stay there, all right, in the classroom or in international conference or international seminar, right? Then you are going to observe, all right, orang Jawa Barat ketika ngomong bahasa Inggris. Otherwise, you need to compare ketika orang Batak ngomong bahasa Inggris, ketika orang Solo ngomong bahasa Inggris. So by this, you will be neutral. Oh, kalau orang Tegal ngomong bahasa Inggris tuh kayak gini. Oh, orang Semarang kalau ngomong bahasa Inggris tuh kayak gini, right? Even though actually the base of the language is the same, it is English language, but the accent will be different. Okay, and the ideology will be different because then they bring and they will be influenced by the ideology. After having the natural foundation, it will be continued by, the critical foundation. What is meant by the critical foundation here is it is based on the social cognitive functions of ideologies for distortion based on the speaker's social and political interests. Something like, when you speak to your upper positions, or when you speak to your boss, when you speak to your leaders, it is differently when you speak to your roommates, when you speak to your friends, right? Why? Because it is the social side of them, because it is the political side of them, all right? So people will speak differently when they have something like political needs, something like the social needs, all right? So by this, actually, we can do critical foundations, all right, in language and ideologies. Okay, something like the language used by MPR, people of representative, and the language used by para pemimpin negara, it is differently from the language used by the common peoples. All right. On the other occasion, I can give you examples that the language used by pedagang is different from the language used by a bureaucrat. All right. So it is means that it need to be critical. All right. Need to be critical. Why? Because they have different social background. They have different political backgrounds and political interests. Okay. Then the third foundation is the various possible site. This various possible site means that there are some possible sites while we do communication with some other peoples. All right. So talking about the language and ideology we use. Okay. So something like when you stay in Semarang, it means that you commonly speak Semarang language. You commonly speak Japanese language. Right. Otherwise, when you go to Jakarta, so you will be meeting Batanese people over there. Right. Sometimes you also will be influenced by Betawi language with the accents, with the words, right? So it means that there is various possible side. On the other occasion is something like when you study English, all right, whether it's British English, then you are interested in having something like science or American English, then you mix your English, British and English saying. Otherwise, well, you come to Bali Beach, all right, Kuta Beach, and you will be seeing so many people from the Australia. Then Australian people stays over there, so many. Then you meet one of them, or you meet a crowd of Australian people. Then you speak English like English Australians. Right? It is the first possible sign. Then the last is nature of the data foundation. What is meant by nature of the data foundation here is that you cannot have something like difference, data. It means that the data you got is nature data. You cannot make it something like changing the data, all right, or you remove the data, all right. Something like if you got the words, all right, from the Australian people or from the British people or from the American people, that the words that is difficult for you, you cannot detect the meaning of the words. Then sometimes sometimes the words synonymous with American slang, American English, or British English, all right. Then you can have something this as the nature of the data. All right. So, doing research in language and ideology, it could be done by through approach, two approach. The first approach is qualitative approach. The second approach is quantitative approach. And what we are seeing right now, it is the corpus decisions on language ideologies. It is based on the qualitative approach. All right. So corpus linguistic, what is meant by corpus linguistic is the use of quantitative techniques to identify patterns. What is meant by patterns here is pola. What is meant by patterns here is the word, kata, of the use in large samples of the text. Large sample of the text, it could be novel, it could be long story, it could be script film, or it could be kitab, and so on and so on. Either oral or written, provides a new and other different quantitative methods for research on language ideologies. So if you're interested in analyzing quantitative data, you may use this corpus linguistic. Corpus linguistic bisa dipakai ya oleh kita untuk menganalisis kata, pola ya dalam novel, dalam skrip, baik itu yang diucapkan ataupun yang ditulis. So corpus research begins by systemic identification extremely large sample of naturally occurring text. The simple example is something like this, right? Pada film layangan putus, for example, right? Pada film layangan putus, so you can use this corpus linguistics. Berapa kali si Kenan mengatakan mas, atau berapa kali si suaminya Kenan itu menyampaikan the word love atau the word hate atau the word apa gitu. So you can detect lebih banyak mana kata-kata yang positif yang disampaikan oleh Kinan atau kata-kata negatif yang disampaikan oleh Kinan. So you can detect this by using this corpus research. The communicative function relies in certain genre, all right. So if you are interested in some specific genres like narrative genres or descriptive genres, but in the lots of the paragraph, itu bisa kita analisis secara corpus, right. So ada berapa pola, ada berapa kata yang ingin kita ketahui. Itulah corpus. Okay, and in each type of the research, quantitative information serve to identify and definition the phenomena of the interest. It depends on our interest. Pada novel Rama dan Sinta, for example, so you are going to describe, ada sebenarnya novel itu tuh novel tragic atau novel romantic. It depends on the words appearance, alright, the words racing. Kalau novelnya lebih banyak kata-kata negatifnya, kata-kata tragicnya, berarti that is not romantic novels, alright. Nah, taunya dari mana? Dari corpus linguistic, alright. Then after having the quantitative research in language and ideologies using corpus base, now on you are facing qualitative research on language ideologies. So if you're interested in language ideologies, actually you can do some examples of the research forms, like research on classroom interaction. This research on classroom interaction actually is very simple one. Melakukan penelitian pada interaksi di kelas. So there are some interaction in the classroom, right? You bisa menganalisis teachers and student interaction, student and student interaction, or student and teacher interaction. So by using this kind of research classroom interaction, you can have the data and you can analyze the data, and then it will have something like a research context. Then interaction around norms for literacy. So in every of us, right, we have different norms, all right. Maybe you have a friend from Papua, you have a friend from Sumatra, from Kalimantan. They bring with the different norm, and Jawa juga bring the different norm, all right. So how do having the literacy with the tide of the norms? Mereka tidak meninggalkan norms itu meskipun belajar literacy, all right. Third, language choice in bilingual classroom. This language choice in bilingual classroom is actually you need to observe pada sekolah-sekolah internasional yang menggunakan bilinguals. Bilingual it doesn't means that menggunakan bahasa Indonesia and bahasa Inggris. Not only that, but also they use bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Arab. It is part of the bilingual classroom. Then you can observe, right? You can do your research. Language choice apa yang dipakai oleh siswa ketika dia menggunakan bahasa Arab, language apa yang dipakai oleh siswa, alright, ketika mereka menggunakan language instruction kepada temannya atau kepada guru. Yeah. Followed by ideologies underlying teaching tasks and materials. So it is focus on the teaching tasks and materials. Tugas-tugas sekolah dan materi-materi sekolah itu juga bisa dikembangkan, itu juga bisa di research, right? Like me, for example, ideologi apa saya? Ideologi saya adalah tentang discourse. Alright, maka tugas-tugas saya terkait dengan discourse. Itu seringnya gitu. Kenapa? Karena every task and material it deals with something like discourse. Gitu. Alright. Ideologi dosen yang lain juga bisa jadi berbeda. Ada ideologi dosen yang suka speaking, maka ideologinya deals with something like speaking. Ideologi dosen yang lain yang suka reading, maka dia deals with the reading. Yang speaking dia deals with the writing. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth, ideologies in institution beyond the classroom. The institution is something like PGRI University. We have the different ideology from Muhammadiyah University. All right, Muhammadiyah University has a different ideology with Nahdlatul Ulama University. All right, and Nahdlatul Ulama University is different from maybe Catholic University or Christian University. In every university, we have the different ideologies. All right, beyond the classroom. Itu maksud akan dipakai pada classroom. Educational language ideologies, the last one, educational language ideologies in era of global communication. This global communication means that it deals with something like digital age, right? Digital age and ICT. Maka you juga bisa mendetek dosen-dosen tertentu yang tidak bisa menggunakan ICT, ya, dosen-dosen tertentu yang menggunakan ICT, right? Dan you bisa juga melihat apa sih yang menjadi hambatan dosen tertentu tidak mau menggunakan ICT, atau apa yang menjadi obstacle dari dosen itu tidak mau menggunakan ICT, because now on the era is digital age, alright? So global communications. I guess that's all what I can say. I do hope you understand what I am discussing with you. Okay, is there any more questions? Is there any more questions, Melinda?
No, sir.
No? Okay, that's all from me. Do not forget to present your attendance in SPADA. All right.
Yes, sir.
Also, do not forget to take a look your system in SIP, in SIP. I'm trying to give you tugas untuk analisis dari PPT saya. But hanya take a look aja. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye. See you again. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam.